What up, fam? It's Aslan. This will be like 15 seconds because I forgot to actually mention it in the middle of the show. But go to warchant.com always, but especially to check out a feature that Irish O'Fell did on Emmett Rice, the linebacker. I think you'll like it. Do check it out.
Some call them lunchtime lifesavers. Others call them the most perfect sandwiches to ever exist. At Zaxby's, we just call them our signature fan favorites. The Southern TLC Filet Sandwich has hand-breaded chicken with fresh tomato and crisp lettuce. The famous Kickin' Chicken Sandwich features spicy tongue torch and Cool Ranch sauces. And for a limited time, fried pickles are back. 2 classic sandwiches and a legendary appetizer. 3 more reasons you're gonna get a kick out of Zaxby's.
From Tally to Cali,
it's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up War Chant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. WarChant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Use that promo code FSU Spring 2020. FSU Spring, SPRING 2020. Sign up for a year, get 18 months of access, and a $50 e-card to Garnet and Gold that Corey Clark will hand-deliver himself. Corey Clark, how are you, man?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good, and I can't wait to hand-deliver those gift cards.
You sound a little more excited.
Well, I mean, this day, at this time in our country, I can't be shaking hands and kissing babies. But I'll leave it under the door. I guess I'll just leave it in the mailbox.
What would be the ultimate sign that our nation is scared of coronavirus? I was trying to think about that. Ireland has gone ahead and canceled all their St. Patrick's Day parades. Italy literally is on an entire lockdown.
For a month.
Yeah. Trying to think, like, what would be the real – I think for me it would be if the Iron Bowl got canceled or if they played the Iron Bowl with nobody in attendance. Like, that would be the real sign that this country's like, okay, this thing's serious.
I think it would be the hot dog eating contest on July 4th.
Ooh.
I think that's probably our nation's favorite pastime.
Good call.
So you don't want people, it's disgusting enough to watch Joey Chestnut anyway with the entrails all over his face. In wet bread flying everywhere. But then to think, oh, man, he might just be spitting coronavirus on everyone makes it even worse. So I think if they eliminated that, if they shut down the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, that would really cut the nation to its core.
Okay. Well said.
By the way, not that we're going to talk about this for long. This isn't really our area of expertise, but there's a pretty darn good chance that at least some portion of the NCAA tournament will be played without fans.
No. Stop.
100%. The NBA is already talking about having games without fans, and now as we record this on Monday evening, apparently it's coming across that they're not going to have locker room access for media members anymore, and that you're going to have to stand 6 and 8 feet away from each player to talk to them. The Major League Baseball quickly followed suit and said the same thing. Which to me, I'm whatever, man. I don't cover those teams. I am a media member, so I guess I should stay with my brothers and sisters. But if I were them, I'd be like, I don't want to be close to them either. Yeah. But my question is, okay, so say that the media members can't stand 8 feet. They can't stand 5. They can't stand 5 feet in front of an NBA basketball player. Well, what about the fans that sit literally right next to the benches? When you watch these NBA games, there are fans sitting right next to Anthony Davis and Trae Young. They're right there, and they're behind. They're 2 feet behind them. They're dapping them up when they walk onto the court. Like, to me, it doesn't. Why differentiate between the media and concession and vendors? And I think this is the first step of them. They're slowly like unrolling this. All these entities, all these sports entities, they can't cancel the games. There's too much TV money involved. But they can maybe limit the people that watch the games that get into contact with them. And to me, it just seems like the first of many steps they're going to take until eventually they might have a Final Four in Atlanta with 40 people in the stands.
Oh, don't say that. That would be.
I don't want it, man. I don't want it. I'm not smart enough to know the risks. I've like most of the people listening to this, I'm sure you've read up on it. And some of it is very alarming, and some of it isn't. But all these entities seem to be taking it very seriously, and you want to the point of I don't want to say overreaction, but hyper cautious. Which I guess in the grand scheme of things, you'd rather it be that than the other way around. The flipping mayor of Milan, I think it was 3 days ago, was like the city of Milan goes on, and he tweeted this video of people hugging and kissing and dancing in the streets of Milan. And now the whole country's locked down. They can't even go out of their houses. So this is a real thing. Like it is. This isn't this is something that is very, very serious. But you just wonder if how and how much it will impact fandom when it comes to large sporting events. South by Southwest was canceled.
Ultra Festival.
The tennis tournament, the Indian Wells tennis tournament was canceled. So it's weird that like some of these sporting events, like right now I'm watching a replay of a baseball game where there's a bunch of people sitting in the stands. Like, will that be the case a week from now? Or are they going to just say, nope, it's just the players and the clubhouse managers? Like, I don't know. But I do think it's in play that it doesn't seem like this thing's slowing down. It seems like all of these precautions are gaining steam. And while I don't think the NCAA, that's that's a multi-billion-dollar property for the NCAA. That's really the only way they make money. That's how the NCAA pays for all of its other sports, is through the basketball tournament, because they don't really get a cut of they don't really technically oversee the football. Right. They don't get really a cut of that. All their money comes from basketball, all of it. So there's no way they're going to cancel the tournament. That's a huge contract. CBS would riot if that happened. But there might be precautions they take so there aren't 14,000 fans coming and touching each other in a venue somewhere.
As long as they pipe in crowd noise, like Mike Norvell did at practice on Saturday.
That's not a bad idea.
Let's do that.
I was thinking about it. Like, what if I'm covering a game, and if media is allowed to attend, but fans aren't? If I'm covering a game in Tampa where there's literally nobody in the stands, you will be able to hear the players talking to each other, talking ish to each other.
Oh, yeah.
The coaches yelling out defensive coverages from 80 feet away. It'll be really surreal. But I'm hoping it doesn't happen.
And with that said, let's go ahead and let's talk basketball. We'll make that the lead story today, Corey. We had, although I don't want to, because I feel like this is us, you, me caving to the mob. But that would be really exaggerating one comment on warchant.com about our show Monday that, or it was like 2 comments. But some people weren't, I don't know what's the proper word. They weren't big fans of us waiting 40 minutes to talk about the basketball team. I wish I could show these people our raw numbers of a podcast that leads with basketball and juxtapose it against a podcast that leads with football. Our numbers from Monday were monstrous. They were like September, the season is still in the balance numbers. It was huge what we did on Monday.
But they might have been tuning in thinking it was going to be an all regular season ACC basketball championship edition of the show.
But
there's no way to quantify why they tuned in.
Right. Well, the episode name led off with football, and then obviously in the item description, I always put in what we have on the program. And tentatively, we're supposed to have FSU baseball head coach Mike Martin Jr. on the podcast later. Might not work out. It might work. I think it's going to work because I'm the optimistic guy. If it does, it'll be in the item description. It'll probably be also in the podcast description as well. But yeah, some people just wanted to let us know that not everybody is here for football.
Well,
just 99%
I get that, and we probably talked a little too long. We should have probably maybe started with basketball, gone to football.
Come on, Corey.
Started back with gone back to basketball.
Well, we mentioned at the top. We mentioned like, hey, they won it first time in program history. Really good. Dude, it's the first spring practice of a new coaching staff. It's not a guy coming off of 5
That's what I was
going to
say. That it's not like we haven't been talking basketball for 3 months.
Right.
we have quite a bit. And then, yeah, it's obviously a first spring practice under Norvell. It's a really big deal. Not as big a deal, in my opinion, as winning the ACC regular season championship, but also, it's not like we were talking about the Florida State baseball series against Duke. Like, we were talking about something that's really, really important. That it quite frankly is the reason that Aslan and I have jobs. It's not for the basketball team. As much as I love watching this basketball team and as much as I like Leonard Hamilton and his staff, the reason War Chant is War Chant, the reason it exists is because of football. So we got to give that the coverage it deserves. And we've been itching. It's been 3 months since we've really gotten to talk about basketball, since that great day in El Paso.
Football, you mean?
Football, yeah. It's been 3 months since we got to talk about it. So we had to go for it. So yeah, we'll be back at that again tomorrow because we get to watch another practice.
Whole thing, start to finish. I think. I don't think anybody ruined it.
But so the news today, on Monday, was the All-ACC Honors, and I thought Florida State was very well represented. Accordingly to how they performed this season, I thought they were very well represented with those honors.
It was just Trent and Devin's second team, Patrick Williams, newcomer, and then obviously Leonard as Coach of the Year. Correct?
No, well, Patrick Williams was Sixth Man of the Year.
Sixth Man. What did I say? 10th man?
You said newcomer.
Oh, newcomer.
Come on, man.
Sorry.
Get your stuff together. You said just like that's not a lot. That's
Well, no.
two of your starting 5 guys being on the second team, which they've never had before, I don't think. And then your Coach of the Year and the Sixth Man of the Year. So 3 of your top 6 players were honored.
Well, the way you talked about it, I thought you mentioned there was more guys on the actual teams list, like first team, second team, third team. But I was more than more than pleased, because if I was more than pleased, it would have been actually Trent or Devin making first team. But that sounds about right. I mean, you look at the first team. To your point, the kid from Syracuse puts up monster numbers. Vernon Carey Jr. is he's on Duke, and Trey Jones is on not Trey Jones.
Yeah, you're right, Trey Jones.
Trey Jones, I was right on it. Is a pretty good college basketball player. Jordan Nwora from Louisville, bigger numbers. So we get that. But to get both guys on the second team was a big deal. But I think no honor bigger than Leonard winning Coach of the Year, but also maybe no easier award to hand out in the entire kit and caboodle than that Coach of the Year honor to Leonard.
Yeah, I thought that was I know some people might have thought differently, or that Tony Bennett was going to sneak in. I had a sneaking suspicion that Leonard was going to win that in a landslide, and he did. I think he got 62 of the 75 votes. Bennett got 12, and then Chris Mack somehow got 1. I don't know if Chris Mack gets to vote in this thing, but somebody voted for Chris Mack over Leonard Hamilton and Tony Bennett. But yeah, I thought it was well deserved. It's a weird award though, and I like it that he won it because they won the league. Like, I think the days of Leonard Hamilton winning it, like in 2009 he won it when they went I think they went 9-7 or 10-6 in the league, but they exceeded expectations. I think they were picked to finish 8th, and they finished like 3rd or 4th, and they got to the tournament for the first time in forever. And so he won it that year. That, to me, he wasn't nearly as deserving, in my opinion, as he was this year. I think all Coach of the Year awards should just go to the coach of the best team. It's really weird what this has become, or what it has become in the past. So I think the days of Leonard Hamilton, like the next time he wins a Coach of the Year award will be the next time they win the regular season title, I think, or finish in a tie for it, or because Florida State's not that program anymore. It's not like Clemson or Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, where if you exceed expectations a little bit, you get a chance to win it. He's got this program to a point now where the only way he's going to win another one of these things is if he wins the league. And just for everyone to realize kind of how bizarre these Coach of the Year awards can be, Krzyzewski hasn't won one since 2000.
Dang, really?
Yeah. He's won 2 national titles since then, 3 maybe. And probably 7 or 8 ACC tournament titles. Probably wins has averaged probably 26 wins a year over the last 20 years, and hasn't won it since 2000. So, again, this year though, I don't think this was like, Hamilton deserved this thing. It wasn't like, oh, look at poor little Florida State actually having a nice season. This was holy moly. He lost 6 dudes out of his top 8 and had a better team and won 16 games in the league. Yeah, man, this was an automatic. Really, in my opinion, I think it was the easiest vote of all the votes, like Defensive Player of the Year, Newcomer of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Player of the Year. I think he got the highest percentage of any of those votes, and well deserved because Bennett's team did well there at the end, I guess, but he was also the coach in December. It wasn't like he came in the middle of December and turned them around. He was the coach in December when they were struggling. And the coach that lost, I think they lost at home to NC State. And so all that counts too. And over the course of the 31 games, there was not a better coach than Leonard Hamilton. And the numbers prove that out. So good for him, man. That's number 3. Gets him closer and closer to that Hall of Fame. Gets him closer and closer to Springfield.
If Florida State wins 10 games and Clemson were to lose, I don't know. Does Clemson have anybody tough non-schedule or non-conference on the schedule? I don't know. I should look that up. Anyhow, would Mike Norvell be coach of the year?
If they won 9 games?
10 games. 10 games,
Yeah.
and let's say Clemson does not run the table.
Yep. I think so. I mean, unless Cutcliffe can go 4-4 in the Coastal, then it's his to lose. But no, I think that's pretty deserving. But again, I would probably still vote if Dabo went 12-0 again. I just don't understand what does he not get credit for the recruiting and for putting together the team? I've obviously talked way too much about 2013, but Jimbo got 2 votes. Best team in ACC history. Literally one of the probably 8 or 10 best college football teams of all time. Won every game by an average of 40 points. Cutcliffe wins 5 games in the Coastal and gets like 68 of 71 votes. It's just nonsense.
Well, to your point, Mike Krzyzewski
won it a couple years ago.
Well, to your point, isn't that playing to the whole Mike Krzyzewski's won 3 national titles since 2000, and he hasn't been coach of the year since?
Yeah, but he also hasn't won a regular season title since like 2010.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's when these things are voted on is after the regular season. So I think Tony Bennett's won a couple. Leonard's won 3. So I think media members, and it's voted on differently now. It used to be just all media members voted. It was called AXMA, and it was if you were a member of AXMA, the ACC Sports Media Association, you would get a vote. But now I think each school has 3 or 4, like a broadcaster will vote, a coach will vote, 1 media member will vote. And each school has that. So they it's not just the North Carolina media mafia anymore.
Nice.
Remember, 2009, Tony Douglas was the defensive player of the year in the league and led the league in scoring. So he was the leading scorer and the defensive player of the year on a team that made it to the tournament. And he didn't win ACC player of the year. Ty Lawson did. That stuff I don't think will happen as much anymore. What was weird about this one is Vernon Carey wasn't even nominated by Duke to be the ACC player of the year.
Right.
So Trey Jones won it. I don't think Trey Jones is the best player in the league. He's very good, and he does a great job for them. But I think Vernon Carey would have won it, but people didn't get a chance to vote for him because he wasn't even nominated. Vernon Carey got the most votes for first team All-ACC, which is usually a dead giveaway of who's the player of the year. But Duke didn't even nominate him. So you couldn't vote for him. So that's why the vote, I think, went to Trey Jones. But the only real gripe I have with the whole thing, again, those 5 guys on the first team all had really good years. They put up big numbers. When you play as many guys as Florida State does, and somebody like Devin Vassell might average 10, he does average 10 shots a game, man, you're just not going to put up the numbers that get you noticed in a conference like this. Now, could they watch Florida State more closely? Could they understand what he does on both ends of the floor? Absolutely, but let's be realists, man. That doesn't happen. He averaged 12.8 points per game. That's hard to get on the first team All-ACC when you do that. But I thought the only real gripe I had with all of it was Trent not winning Defensive Player of the Year. I don't know how Trey Jones wins that over Trent Forrest. It just, to me, it makes 0 sense. I don't get that at all.
Listen to this murderer's row of a schedule. Clemson at Georgia Tech, hosts Louisville, hosts Akron, hosts Virginia, at Boston College, at Florida State, hosts NC State, hosts Syracuse, at Notre Dame, hosts Citadel, at Wake Forest, hosts South Carolina.
I don't understand what just happened.
Clemson schedule. I mentioned it.
I know, but I was just talking about the Defensive Player of the Year, and then that was a Kevin McHale pivot, an up fake, it up and under. You traveled, and you went to a whole different sport.
I'll just let people know that if they were wondering what Clemson's schedule was like for the Mike Norvell ACC Coach of the Year.
I couldn't even figure out the connection.
Yeah.
But now I got it. At least now I got the connection of the Coach of the Year talk. Yeah. Gotcha.
All right, well, back to basketball.
If Dabo goes 12-0 and beats Florida State by 30 or 40 points again, I got no problem with that guy winning Coach of the Year.
All right, let's bounce back to basketball. So Trent now winning Defensive Player of the Year, a bit of a bummer. But I think Patrick Williams winning sixth man, I think that's a bit of a nice homage to what Florida State's done this season. I don't know too much about the dynamics of the conference basketball in terms of who's coming off the bench first for the other 13 teams. That's a pretty significant honor.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was really cool. And kudos to Leonard for always putting his most talented player on the bench to start a game. They're going to own this thing. It's going to be the Florida State Award. Next year, it's going to be if Patrick Williams comes back, he might not start again. He can repeat. Be the first ever repeat Sixth Man of the Year award winner, or maybe it'll be Scotty Barnes.
Oh, yeah.
Or Calhoun or somebody like that. I thought it was. And it was fitting because, man, who has a better bench in the league than Florida State? Nobody. And that guy is probably, I would say over the course of the season, Patrick Williams has been their third best player consistently through 31 games. So that was cool that he got that honor because it's deserved. I think the kid at Louisville, the kid that got hurt in the game against Florida State, Malik Williams, I think he was another possibility, but maybe his injury and missing the last 2 or 3 games hurt him there. But yeah, man, Patrick Williams, and again, it's not, you can't just look at numbers. Like Kabengele's numbers last year, his offensive numbers were good enough that he'd have won that even if he was a terrible defensive player. But he wasn't. He was good. He blocked a lot of shots. But Patrick Williams is so good defensively that I think that weighs into it too. And just like it does with Vassell and Forrest, because Vassell and Forrest, even on the second team, it's not like their numbers stack up all that well with other guys on the second team. But I do think people understand what they do defensively, especially Trent. Maybe they don't quite understand. I mean, Vassell's the leading rebounder on the team and one of the leading shot blockers. But him and Trent, what they do defensively, along with Patrick Williams, is kind of what makes this team so special. One of the things that makes this team so special. And yeah, I thought it was a cool little, like you said, homage to Florida State that the team that uses its bench more than anyone wins that award, the Sixth Man of the Year award, because it was deserving, just like it was last year with Kabengele.
You put Patrick ahead of MJ Walker of level of importance to this team? You said third, so yeah. I'm guessing he's.
I do, and I like what MJ's done this year. He's taken a nice leap, and I think he was an honorable mention, right? I think he was an honorable mention All ACC. I just think the difference with MJ is there are too many times where, for this reason or that reason, he's just a non-factor for huge chunks of games. Patrick Williams, unless he gets in foul trouble, is always a factor, even if he's not shooting well, even if he's not playing well offensively, which quite frankly he hasn't for a few games now. At least from the floor, from the perimeter. He hasn't knocked down many shots, but he's still so good and so active around the basket and so good defensively. But yeah, I would say Patrick has been consistently probably their third best player. But MJ's had some, I mean, you look at the season, he had the second half against Miami, tied that one up. He obviously had the second half against Notre Dame. He had the first half against Louisville. He's hit some huge shots for this team and gone on the first 4 minutes of the game at NC State where he scored 10 points and completely changed the complexion of the game in 4 minutes. He's that guy, man. And I'm really interested in him next year. He's only shot 37% from the floor, which is way too low, even for a guard. But I think next year he's going to take another step. You know, he's been so much better getting to the basket this year and creating for other guys. He still doesn't average a ton of assists, but he has been better getting to the basket. Last year, it was just he was like a wrecking ball. He'd go in there and it hit off his face. He'd throw it up and miss it. He'd lose the ball or he'd make it. Now, none of those first two things are happening. He's really, when he gets in the lane, he's making some big plays for this team. And I think he's a good player. He's been a very big part of this team. But yeah, Patrick Williams is I just think he's a difference maker. He's been a special dude. And when Leonard said on Saturday, when he was telling people that he thought this team would be better than last year's team, I think Patrick Williams had a lot to do with that notion.
MJ Walker was an honorable mention. In terms of all defensive player, Trent had 55 votes. He was tied for second with Diakite. Right. Diakite. I'm sorry. tied for second behind Trey Jones. He had 64 votes. They both had 55. Patrick Williams had 29 votes for all freshmen, but he, again, won Sixth Man of the Year with 35 votes. Malik Williams had 28 from Louisville, second place. So I think 7 teams in all in the ACC had multiple players that made those lists. So Florida State headlining it. So fantastic.
There you go. And I think it's still, the streak still holds now that Florida State has not had an All-ACC first team member since Tony Douglas in 2009.
Okay.
So we're going on year 12 heading into next year. Maybe Scotty Barnes can end the streak.
We'll take the Nets. We'll take the Nets over that.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Y'all have a cute little award. Like Clemson's had like 2 or 3 guys in that span.
Yeah.
It's not like Florida State's not been out here winning games and sending guys to. I'm not sure that John Isaac made any of the teams. That can't be right.
Oh, that'd be 2016?
I'm going to look that up. You pivoted to something else. I'm going to look that up.
Well,
it would have been the 2017 All-ACC team.
Okay, are you going to look it up, or do you want me to look it up?
I'll look it up.
All right, thanks, Corey. Again, Florida State wins the ACC regular season title. They are the 1 seed. They await the winner of Clemson and Miami in the quarters. If they were to win that, likely a semifinal matchup against the Dukies. We weren't able to speak to, they didn't have media availability, which is a little bit weird on Monday. You'd figure they'd have a big sort of to-do with all these honorees and would have the media come speak, but for whatever reason they did not. It's not a criticism, just telling you people in case you were wondering how come there's no interviews or anything like that. Maybe we'll be able to speak to the basketball team on Tuesday, in which case we'll maybe try to get a one-on-one with somebody to put in the podcast as an interview. Keep my fingers crossed. We'll see how it does go. Otherwise, we'll be at football bright and early-ish, 9 a.m. I don't think I'll have to go. Like we got really too gun-shy on Saturday. I was told maybe actually, Aslan, in reading this, you should probably get there before 9 o'clock when practice starts. So I got there at like 8:25 and just twiddled my thumbs for a bit so I can, sleep in a little bit more. But I'm excited to see practice again. Hopefully most of you folks are. We'll have full video highlights of the first 3 periods. I'll probably try to get some more on the offensive line. Maybe try to get some quarterbacks, but in terms of the first 3 periods that we saw, I would imagine it's going to be somewhat similar. I know they're doing a lot of different drill work and stuff, but usually when coaches have the sort of exercises and the drills they like, they usually kind of stick to schedule. So there wasn't a lot of dynamic sort of opportunities to watch the quarterbacks in motion, if you will. Same thing with the offensive line, but I know that's a real big bugaboo for a lot of folks, so that'll be maybe my task for the day, is to get as much offensive line footage as I can. But I'm going to watch the whole thing. I'm going to write it down. We need to get this sponsored. We'll call it maybe like Slon Scribbles or something. It'll just be all the notes I write down. Corey, I don't know, do you put your notes in a phone, or do you just keep it all in your big noggin? I can't trust myself anymore. I was almost go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I do it in my phone, but I hate doing it in my phone. Because I think if a coach looked at me while I was writing down a note, not that they would, like, hey, what's Corey Clark doing?
Right.
But if I just happen to catch their eye and I'm actually out at a practice, I get to be out at a practice, and they see me on my phone, they're like, man, I let this guy come out here to watch practice, and he's on Twitter.
Yeah.
Or he's checking up on an email. But I'm typing into my phone, but mainly because I always forget to bring a notepad. Always. Without fail.
I'll bring you one.
Okay, bring me one, please, because then it looks like at least I'm. But yeah, I put them in my phone, which isn't easy. It's a lot easier to write than have to hammer out like a quote with my thumb.
Well, here's
the thing. By the way, I did look it up. Yeah, Jonathan Isaac, who was the number 6 pick in the draft, on a team that finished, I think, second in the ACC that year, second or third, did not make any of the first 3 teams, any of the 3 teams his freshman year, his only year at Florida State.
All right.
Which is crazy. Now, there were guys like Donovan Mitchell. Dwayne Bacon made second team. Jason Tatum barely made the third team. I don't know if people have been paying attention to the NBA, but he's pretty good. So it was a really loaded team. But yeah, he didn't make any of the first 3 teams. He was the number 6. So by NBA standards, at least on potential, I know it's not just how they perform in college, but he was the 6th best player in the country. And yet he wasn't one of the top 15 players in the ACC that year.
All right. How did we ever go on living life with that injustice. It's crazy.
Right? It's such a weird injustice but I don't even remember like that at all. Like it doesn't stick out to me at all. So yeah, that's really, I mean, there were a lot of really good players, man, but still that's crazy again, because of what he did on both ends of the court. Just sometimes I think that hurts. People don't really take into account some of these guys and how good they are defensively when they just look at the points. Like Elijah Hughes at Syracuse. Good dude, scores a ton of points, good player. I mean, I don't know if he's a good dude, but I don't know if he could guard you. I mean, how could anyone know when all they do is stand there and let guys shoot threes over them? That's the Syracuse defense. So yeah, anyway, enough about Jonathan Isaac. Hope he has a speedy recovery. Talked to Trent Forrest about him a couple days ago when I did that story on Trent about looking back at his career and all the highlights from his career. And he said that he and Jonathan are still in contact because his mom and Jonathan Isaac's mom are really good friends.
Did he rank them like his most favorite, or was it just his sixth favorite?
No, they didn't even do that. I just went back and found like 6 or 7 of his most memorable plays.
Oh, okay.
And showed them
talk
to him.
about it. Okay.
Yeah, which was really cool. I would ask him to break it down step by step. What are you thinking here? What are you thinking here? And his best quote obviously was about the dunk on Nwora, which is one I finished with. I'm like, so what are you thinking in that moment? It's like, because when he catches it, it was actually a really great hustle play by Nwora in a game that was pretty much over. And he hadn't played well in the second half. He's almost at mid-court when Trent catches it, and he busts it back to try to go block it. And Trent goes, yeah, when I'm leaping right here, I can see out of my corner of my eye that he's going up too, which I think Trent was a little surprised by. And he's like, so either he blocks it, either he fouls me, or either I wind up on SportsCenter. And he chose the latter of the 3. So yeah, that was a really good quote.
Fly, young man, fly. Very nice. All right, so yeah, we'll be back at practice. How many more practices do you think you'll have to see before you develop like your favorite crush, like your favorite coach crush? I think Ira's starting to develop one of his. If you read his 3-2-1, which is on warchant.com, it's a really good read for you folks that aren't able to be out there and watch the entire practice, which is all of you because it's only for the media. Ira does a really great job on the 3-2-1, doing, I think, 3 observations, 2 questions, and a prediction. I'm very disciplined, and I scroll very slowly so I don't have any spoilers and like jump ahead to the third question we're asking, or skip ahead to the prediction. I do recommend checking out. Use the promo code FSU Spring 2020, but I think he sort of hinted at it. I think I'll probably need 2 weeks before I develop a favorite on the staff. But you know that you have to be down the line. There's no favorites in Corey Clark's world, right? Everybody's equal.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right, buddy. I don't play favorites. I'm objective. You know that. I would assume it would be like, and this is no offense to Odell, but it's not going to be Odell. I've seen him enough. I've been around him enough. So I won't even be over there that much. I am going to be watching all the other coaches just to see what that looks like. I didn't do as much of that on Saturday as I needed to. So I'll definitely make a point later today to do that, to actually kind of hone in on the coaches. And in fact, more than anyone, I'll probably go and watch Atkins, like you were talking about, getting the O-line.
Okay.
I will probably go over there and watch him as much as possible. I just watched him for a few minutes on Saturday, and they were actually doing a fumble recovery drill. And he kept making them do it over and over again until they got it right. But I want to get a vibe of like how he treats these guys. So yeah, that'll be. I don't know if he'll become my favorite, although I do like him a lot. He's a really affable dude. But I do want to see like he's such an affable guy when he's talking to us, just at these luncheons and stuff, and really friendly and funny. I want to see if there's a switch that gets flipped when he's on the field. Agreed.
I think for me, it's a 3-man race right now between Chris Thompson, David Johnson, and the dark horse, John Papuchis. Just because his story is fantastic. But I'd say probably those 3 guys. He was one of the guys yelling early on in the practice, like creating this like kind of stressful environment that I think it's very crucial that you need in practicing an extremely stressful game. Although, who knows? We might be playing in empty stadiums. Mercedes-Benz Stadium might just be,
There's going to be no stress at all.
Yeah, it's going to be totally quiet, and the joke's going to be on Florida State for all this piped-in music. But Yeah,
Would they let the marching Chiefs come in still? Probably.
I mean, they're sweating with all that polyester they wear. They're sweating. They might be more likely to transmit it than anybody else with all that bodily fluid.
But my point was going to be if there's an empty stadium and just 400 marching Chiefs, spread them out.
Ooh, I like it.
The French horn players don't have to be right next to each other, do they?
That's a good point. Yeah, I wonder how many of them you can divvy up so you maintain the fidelity of the sound and everything,
Well, we'll get the band director on next week and talk about it. I assume that's something we're going to have to be talking about here in the near future.
Don't be that way. But I mean, to the kind of a little bit serious. We do joke about with Odell, whatever, it is what it is. But I mean, what a great luxury it is to know that one of the more important parts of your program and your team, your defensive line, is usually going to be performing above average and is in good hands with him. So thank you, Odell, for allowing me to use that 2.5 hours to observe other aspects of the team, because I know they're in good hands with you, even though you got your knee all banged up and you're in a golf cart right now. And it's some guy that went to the University of Florida is taking over and coaching in your absence. I wonder how Odell feels about that. I wonder, does Odell what if he have any involvement in that? Like, okay, you want one of my defensive analysts to be a guy that played at Florida? Like, I wonder, I can see Odell like maybe having fun with that one, struggling. Like, Mike, really? Are we going to do this? Really? But then be like, I'm just joking. I trust you.
I think he'd be all right. I think he'd be all right. I see what you're saying. I can't imagine anybody else on the staff hates Florida like Odell Higgins hates Florida. But I still think he'd be all right with it, as long as he's doing a good job, right? And for the people that don't know, he had, was it knee replacement surgery?
Yeah, he said he got a new knee, is what he said.
Yeah, so oh, by the way, we didn't mention it, that Florida State is now ranked number 4 in the country with the new AP poll. That does not mean they're going to be a number 1 seed. They probably almost definitely have to win the ACC tournament and still get maybe some other help to be a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. But they are number 4, which is their highest ranking since the preseason of the 1973 team when they were coming off their runner-up finish in the national championship.
I still believe
it's their highest finish. It's their highest ranking in only 47 years.
Yeah. Well, let's see, because they would beat, let's say, I don't know what of those. It doesn't really matter if they beat Miami or Clemson. They're both 6-1, half dozen the other. But if they were to beat Duke, I wonder if that does. I mean, if they don't win it, the championship, which I agree, they would need to win out to become a number 1 seed. But like if Dayton were to lose in their conference tournament, or I don't know who. I mean, I don't know, the two most like firmly entrenched teams are what? Probably Kansas and Gonzaga. So like if Baylor loses again and Dayton loses, like that might open the door for Florida State as like a to get the 1 seed. But like if they were to beat Duke, it's like, hey man, they beat everybody in the ACC. They took down Virginia, they took down Louisville, they took down Duke.
Well,
other than Pitt,
that is true, right? Would that be everybody? That would every team they played, they beat, right?
Other than Pitt, right?
Well, they did beat Pitt.
Oh yeah.
They beat Pitt at home to beat Clemson at home.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So they beat Virginia at home. So all their losses, they would have. I think
you're underestimating the ability of this team to surge and get a 1 seed. But I don't. It'd be cool, obviously, another great honor to add to this season. But I wouldn't feel any different about their chances in the tournament between on the 1 line and being on the 2 line.
No, you just see it. That second, like, look, they would probably win the first game. It's only happened once where a 1 seed is lost.
Right.
Now, there have been close calls, but only Virginia, which somehow got blown out by a 16 seed, that's happened. So they're probably going to win. They would probably win that game, but they'd probably win as a 2 either the same way. After that, it's all up in the air, man. Like, Florida State doesn't blow a ton of teams out. And whoever the 8 seed is going to be a team from a major conference. It's probably won a couple really nice, had a couple really big wins over really good teams. And they probably won't be too afraid of playing Florida State. And you just hope that there's a crowd in Tampa and that it's loud. And then it becomes like a home game. So like say it's Marquette is an 8 or 9 or 10. I guess it'd be a 10 or a 7. One of those if they're Florida State's a 2 seed. You got to hope that the Florida State crowd plays a factor if there is a crowd allowed at the game.
I'm trying to pull it up right now. I want to look at the latest bracketology here. We'll go to I hate the way they do it on the mobile phone. Like they do it per regional, and it's like, man, just give me the whole 64. Right now they have, Joe Leonard has Florida State still a 2 seed, Tampa against North Dakota State, they would then get the winner of Providence, Arizona State.
Okay. All right.
Arizona State kind of Hurley's still there, right?
Yeah.
He kind of scares me. He's a lunatic.
But his brother's the real lunatic. His brother's the one they played last year, which was losing his mind, and Kofor was talking to him from the bench. Because he was and he told Kofor to shut up. And then Kofor just pointed at the scoreboard.
The number 1 seed in the South is Baylor. If Florida State were able to get past North Dakota State and the winner of Providence, Arizona State, they would likely be in a Sweet 16 matchup against either Virginia or Michigan State.
Yuck.
I know how excited
either one of those you don't want, man. And not that I think Virginia's great. You just know it's going to be a close game. You just know it. And same Michigan State, man, in March. It's something about that team. They were number 1 in the country to start the season.
Yeah. I don't want any part of. I don't want Tom Izzo. I want no part of that.
Virginia, I don't want Izzo or Bennett. I don't want Bennett just because I don't want to watch his team ever again.
I know. We all know.
But I don't want Izzo because, man, that team, it just always finds – didn't they go to the Final Four last year? That's right. Didn't they beat Duke?
They beat Duke in the Elite Eight.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. He's a really good coach. Good for him.
Indiana is also a likely play-in game, perhaps. In that,
all right, get you a little revenge on them somewhere down the line.
Meanwhile, Jerry Palm, CBS. Also, Florida State has a 2 seed in the South, taking on Belmont. They would then get the winner of Providence, LSU. And has them in a Sweet 16 matchup. The 2 highest seeds in that other part of the bracket would be 3 seed Maryland, 6 seed Virginia. I'll take Maryland. Yeah. I think Mark Turgeon will choke it away. I'll take that.
Yeah, but you read those teams like from
Providence that's not
to
fun.
Arizona State. None of them are easy.
Yeah.
Like I saw another one where like Arizona. I think this was before they lost on Saturday night at home to flipping Washington, but they were a 10 seed.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, Arizona's got 2 NBA lottery picks, perhaps. All these games are going to be hard after you think the first round. What helps, you hope, is that Florida State doesn't usually get a lot of gimmies in the first round. And I'm not saying this would be a gimme, but if you're a 2 playing a 15 in your home state, it should be as close as you can get to one in the NCAA tournament. After that, man, you better play well or you're done. And we saw that 3 years ago in Orlando when they got absolutely trashed by a 10-seed Xavier team.
I'm not afraid of Providence or LSU. Bring it on.
No, you're not afraid of them, but if you don't play well, you can lose. This isn't like an unbelievably dominant team that even if they play their C- game and the other team plays well, they're still going to win by 10 or 12.
Fair.
If they don't play well, if they miss free throws and shoot 25% from 3, they can lose to any of the 32 teams remaining.
And I will
say
they can also
beat all of them.
And this is a weird thing to probably say, but there's a huge risk reward, I guess, in the tournament. Like, because last year, Murray State was what? They were 12 because they beat 5 seed Marquette, right? Yeah. That's another thing too. It's like, so you having the 2 seed, you really give yourself that comfy opener. But your second round matchup is almost guaranteed to be kind of a dogfight. Whereas, if you're like a 4 or 5 seed, like you might get that team that can up. Like a 10 beating a 7's not that big of a shakeup difference as if like a 13 beats a 4 or if a 12 beats a 5. But those are, again, less likely to happen. But either of these paths I like. I'm fine with it. We'll know more on Selection Sunday. And again, hopefully we'll be able to talk to Ham and the boys at some point on Tuesday. Is there anything else you want to talk about football, or should we try to bring in meat?
Let's try to bring in meat.
All right. If we don't have Mike Martin Jr., it'll be the end of the podcast, in which case, thanks for listening. But let's see. Let's see how big of a heavy hitter Corey Clark is and how deep his Rolodex runs, and see if we can get the FSU head baseball coach on the program next. Welcome back to Wake Up War Chant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. Indescribably good, as advertised. We've got the head coach of the Florida State baseball program, Mike Martin Jr., joining us here on the program. Coach, thanks for taking some time out. Busy week coming off a busy weekend over in Duke. How excited are you for this upcoming week with Florida? And then I guess Georgia Tech also coming to town this weekend. And then you got the Wednesday game as well. Really busy week.
It is a really busy week, and people forget about these guys at Illinois State. They were in a regional final last year and have already knocked off Oklahoma State and Arkansas on the road. So it's a great challenge week for us, but we got a lot of improvement we got to do, and we're excited to get after it.
Meet, what did you I know you lost 2 or 3, and it's not like you're coaching at, UTEP. You're coaching at Florida State. Losing series isn't something you ever want to do. Did you like the way you played this weekend overall, especially maybe Saturday and Sunday? It just seemed like Saturday you just could not get a hit when you needed one, but I know you left 15 runners on base, which is not a great stat, except it's great to have 15 runners on base. Did you feel like y'all played better that weekend?
Yeah, shoot, Corey. The Friday night we ran into a guy, I swear to goodness, is the best I've seen in 20 years. He was 94, 97, could hit a gnat's ass. He was it was unbelievable how good he was. He'd throw 2-0 changeups, 3-1 sliders. I mean, he was really, really good. And he'll be the first guy of this group that'll make the big leagues. I promise you that. And then Saturday, we got a bunch of guys on, couldn't get a clutch hit a couple balls around the number and, right at somebody, that type of thing. And then, of course, we played a lot better and scored some after that on Sunday. But again, there's no consolation prize here. We got to do better. We're going to keep working at it, and we'll figure it out.
Now, when you go to Gainesville, for the people listening to this, it'll be later today. Do you sacrifice a live chicken like on the mound? Do you do it in the dugout? Like how do you break this streak, man? What are we doing here? Does it have to be a live chicken that you sacrifice? Can it be a dead chicken? Like what are we doing to break this streak, man?
Yeah, we're going to run the same type of stuff they run at us, arms. And
right.
And finally we can match them, They would go 10 deep. Well, we can go 10, 13 deep this year. So we're going to run them out there and try to hold them down. We obviously got to defend and get some clutch hits, but it's the first time in a long time that I felt good about it. Like, all right, now it's a fair fight, because, we've got the same amount of arms and dudes that can really shut you down. So let's go.
Is there anything that can be done? And I don't know if you're a fan of how this series is done. I just know because I live part-time up in Atlanta, and Georgia and Georgia Tech have a 3-game series where they play in each park and then a neutral park, but it's all a weekend series. Is this just the way Florida State's going to be forever? Is there any talk about making it more like Clemson, South Carolina, and Georgia Tech?
Yeah, they won't do it. I mean, back in the day, that's the way we did it. We were the first ones to do it that way. We would go Thursday, Friday, alternate years, Thursday, Friday in Tallahassee, and then, Saturday, Sunday in Gainesville, and then flip it the next year. It was a 4-game deal, and it was awesome. But the problem was we, completely dominated them, and they didn't want to do it anymore. And now we turn it into a midweek situation, and whatever. But again, I don't like it either. I'd much rather do it on a weekend, but they're not going to do it. We've tried to get it back to the way it was.
What's been the difference with Cabell? It seems to me, and again, I'm a novice. I mean, obviously, I have a son who is a great hitter. You know that.
That's right.
But he's 11.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference in Cabell this year? Is it just staying back and thinking right center field? Is it as simple as that? What has he done? Because I think that's where all his home runs have been. Is that the biggest adjustment he made?
Yeah, I mean, every one of them has been to center or to right field. So he just finally sold out. He finally realized, hey, yeah, this out in front stuff, and starting my swing early, and I mean, because he's so talented, he's so fast twitched and strong as can be, and it's all the stuff that translates to a dude. But if you want to be a dude, the mindset has to match it as well. And he's finally figured out, hey, it's a lot easier to let that thing get back deep and drive it the other way, and then I'm going to do better on off speed pitches and he's the sky's the limit with that guy. I mean, he's a superstar.
And I assume it was nice to see Reese kind of break out of it a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. I know he hit a home run, hit a couple off the wall. Good to see for the old ball coach, and because he's such an important part of your team and your lineup.
Oh, there's no question. And he's always been, that 300 hitter that's going to drive in runs and clutch, and he can run, he can throw, he can do a lot of things that help you win ball games. And, that surgery was a pretty big deal. And it took a lot of time off, and you start talking about timing, and then, all right, well, timing's off, and now the mind starts playing with you, and he wants to change things. And, snowballs on you a little bit, and for him to take some good swings on Saturday and Sunday was clutch, because we got to have him.
And so you're 15 games in, not even counting the record, just overall your impressions of 15 games in. Are you as good at pitching as you thought you were going to be? And what about the other facets of the game? Obviously, I know you're not fielding like you want to. I'm not going to ask what can be done with the fielding, but with your pitching in particular, is it as good and as dominant as you thought it was going to be? Because it sure seems like it is. Like you said, I feel like you've got more arms than any time since I've been covering you guys.
No, there's no question we do. And, there's guys that are literally going to get 20, 25 innings this year that in years past they'd probably be in the rotation. They would get 90, 95. So, it's a good problem to have, no doubt, but we got to keep them sharp, but we also have to keep them fresh. So that's the plan with all these guys, and we're going to keep running them out whether they sink or swim. It doesn't matter. We've got to do it, because when postseason comes around, we're going to be ready for them. They're going to be ready for the environment and everything else that comes with it. Defensively, we've been horse crap, and we're going to keep trying to find the right piece of the puzzle and keep teaching and working at it, and try to get it right, because you're only going to go as far as your defense. And right now, we've given away plenty of games, and the beauty of it is, that's what you play the regular season for, right? Where are we? Who's better than us? And I haven't seen anybody that's clearly better than us, so that's a good thing.
With what you got coming up this week, obviously it's a challenging week. I mean, Georgia Tech's no joke. You already talked about Illinois State, and then we know what's awaiting Tuesday night with the number one team in the country. Do you as a coach, do you feel any different as the head coach going into a week like this than you did, say, last year? Is it the exact same feeling? Is it more pressure, less? What's your mindset from the day? I know that's a macro question, but does it feel any different?
No, it actually feels more like when I was a player. Again, we're always amped to play them, and I'm sure they're the same way. But it's just again, it's excitement. It's you're juiced up, you're excited, but you got to understand that you're playing the game. You're not playing the opponent, and we got to stop doing that. Sometimes the opponent's in your head, and they've won freaking way too many versus what we've done in the last few years. But again, we're playing the game. We got to play the game better. We got to defend. We got to move runners. We got to get clutch hits. We got to do a lot of things. And if you do that and you keep it simple, that we're playing the game, that I think it'll help. And that's what we've been trying to stress to them.
What's it like for you? You've been always available. Anytime I wanted to talk to you after a game, win or loss, you'd come out and talk. It's not like you weren't available to talk. But what are those press conferences like for you? That's something you've never had to do. Now, I love them. Like, number one, if you're unhappy, I know you're unhappy, and I love your dad to death. You know that. But he was kind of the same talking to us, whether y'all just won 12-2 or lost 5-4. You wear it on your sleeve a little bit more, but also you give, and this isn't a shot at him, but you give a lot more tangible information about what's going wrong, what you're looking for, why a certain hitter is struggling. But you in particular, going into that room, what's that like for you? Are you used to it yet?
I mean, it's Corey. I don't know any other way. I am who I am, and I want to do really good. I want our guys to do really good, and I tell them, look, here's the deal. This is the way it's going to be, and if you're not willing to put forth the effort or whatever, then I'm not going to stand behind you, and neither will anybody on this, staff and team and everything else. But we're going to do things right, and we're going to get after it, and we're going to stand together, and we're going to grind, and regardless of how things go, we're going to do things the right way, and I think that's the only way you can do things.
Last question: how much have you heard from your dad, if at all?
No, actually, we had a team dinner at Bill Smith's tonight. He's an amazing human being and has a dinner for the team every night, and that was tonight, and 11 was there, and it's the first time I've seen him in good grief, probably a month and a half or so. Of course, he had his opinions on a few things. We hashed it out. You know, he's got the coronavirus all figured out. I mean, he's that retired guy that's, you know, doing his thing, and mom starts bickering about this and that and how he's not doing this, and you know, the flower bed's not right. But yeah, it's like it's fine. Again, he's an amazing man. He's a great human being. It was neat to see, you know, these freshmen and first year players that first time they had seen him and, you know, wanted his autograph and pictures with him, and it was pretty cool.
Maslon, you got anything?
Yeah, only question I have, you know, your father obviously went by his number. You can't force nicknames. His number stuck forever. It's iconic. Meat has stuck to you for decades now. We don't want to force it, but is there anything that we should be planning to refer to Tyler as? It feels like, you know, if you're called Meat because you need to put meat on your bones when you're growing up, maybe Tyler's, you know, that acorn didn't fall too far off the tree, but I'm trying to figure out a clever sort of optional nickname.
What's your nickname?
The players call him Schmeat, like a smaller version of Meat. They call him Schmeat. So I guess just go with that. I mean, it is weird because they'll say Schmeat, and I think they're calling me, and I turn around and I'm like, God dog it, we need to find something different than that. But you know, he's fit right in, and the guys love him. He loves the guys, and you know, it's been good.
Do the players do you prefer for them to call you Meat, or do you want them to call you Coach?
I don't care. I could care less. But yeah, no, it doesn't matter. I don't care what they call me. They can call me Meat. They can call me, you know, Four. Some of them call me Four. Some call me Coach. It doesn't matter.
Just knock some base runners in. That's all you're asking for, right? Mike Martin, the head baseball coach for Florida State, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant. Coach, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck against the Gators later tonight.
Thank you, Meat.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.